So we're going to put a dog to sleep for nipping at a person, or we can allow pedophiles to run free in our streets to keep molesting children. To me, that's an evil world that we live in. And the only thing that's going to fight the evil is the good.
Welcome, everybody, to the Warrior Podcast. Today, I have a special guest, Jose Santiago Jr. He is a former street guy who was up to no good, selling drugs on the street. Almost didn't make it through those days, and we're going to talk about that. He's a former executive chef for some of the most famous people in the world. Now actor and owns his own construction company. He's known as the Latino Pacino. Welcome to our show, Mr. Jose Santiago Jr.
Thanks a lot, Frank. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so you were introduced to me by a mutual friend, Antonio, who's a great guy. You told me part of your story on the phone. Yeah. I got the chills. I would like to start out when you were a kid and how you flowed into your own personal darkness.
Yeah, as a kid, I want to get this out there because a lot of people play the poor me card. I don't ever want self-pity for myself. I came from a great family. I came from a very, very loving family, a loving mom, loving father. And the decisions that I made to join the streets and the gangs and the drugs, and that was solely on me. It wasn't I came from a broken home. I came from a great home. That's an excuse that people use today. Well, it's where I'm from, man. That's what it's about. No, it's not. It's about what you make out of it. I decided to go to the streets. I decided to sell drugs and join the gangs and hang out and do the things that I shouldn't have done, which kind of hurt my family. But I mean, it's a way of life that I chose. No one made me. Nobody forced me. Nobody put me into that. I wasn't born into it. I chose that. When I started doing that was after the death of my grandfather, who I was very close with. So I haven't had a grandfather since I was 12 years old. And when my grandfather passed, it hit me really hard. I mean, it was like the hardest thing. It was like losing a father. And I have a dad, but my grandfather and I were very close as well. I get in trouble with my dad, and my grandfather backed me up and, tell my dad it's okay. He's a boy, he grows out of it. Well, he was no longer around. And that kind of like really set in with me that, I begged God, don't take him. And please, keep him here. And from that day at 12 years old, when I got the call that my grandfather had passed, I was out of town. I drove back. I had someone drive me. Literally, I was 12 years old. I said, take me home. I was away at a camp. And I said, I want to go home now or I'm going to start walking. And I packed my stuff and started leaving. So the counselor grabbed me and said, okay, we're going to take you home. We're going to take you home today. By that time, my grandfather was already gone. I couldn't say goodbye to him. So that kind of, that anger, let's just put it that way. It was anger, and regret for not being around. Kind of just took me to another direction. And from that day, my mom tells family members, and she actually just told my fiance that that day her son's eyes went completely black, and she didn't remember her son.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I love what you said about your family had nothing to do with your choices. That's accountability, brother, and that's how you live and learn.
Yeah.
Most people blame. We already talked about this. My past was so bad, poor me, all that stuff. My buddy Tommy calls it PMS, poor me stuff.
Yes. Poor me syndrome. Yeah.
But if you do that, if you blame everybody and everything on your circumstances, then you don't live and learn. You blow in the wind. And
I agree. Like I said, I did some pretty bad and horrific things from 12 all the way to 25. It was a time where I kind of stayed away from my family because I didn't want the people in the drug game knowing I had family, so that way they could never hold anything against me.
Gotcha.
And I had them all by the balls. I mean, there was times, they gave me a nickname, and I'm not proud of it, but it was just a nickname that one guy gave me in Chicago, and it was Jay Jilla, the Killer. So if I came knocking on somebody's door, it wasn't to say hi and have dinner. So that's just the way it was. And you're in your life, you're going to hurt a lot of people, but the biggest thing that I learned when I got out of that, I had my kids. I got married and I had 4 beautiful children, and I had sons. And the last thing I wanted was for them to follow in their dad's footsteps. At this point in time, I'm still not believing in God. I cursed God. I condemned him. I damned him. I was God. In my eyes, I was a God, because I had everything I wanted. I had my children. I had nice places to live. I drove nice cars. I had money, party whenever I wanted. My first wife never complained about anything. Everybody was taken care of. That was my job. I thought growing up like that, that's my job as a dad. That's my job as a dad. But I did miss out on a lot.
When you're living that life on the street and you're dealing drugs, you have to become merciless to survive, don't you? You cannot show any weakness.
There's no weakness.
When you got to pull a trigger or whatever.
It's either you or them.
You got to do it.
It's either you or them. Yeah. And that was the game. A lot of times it was them. I talked to my mom and dad about it recently, and they were just like, wow. Because I was on another podcast and this came up, and my dad's like, I didn't know half the things that you did. I knew what you were doing. But he goes, wow. He goes, I'm sorry. I said, sorry for what? What did you do? What did you do besides be a great father to me? You done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
You done nothing wrong. I said, you know what you did? You gave me an avenue. You being a Vietnam vet, coming home with a lot of post-traumatic stress. And back then in the 70s, this was hush, hush. Oh, nowadays, you offend somebody and they say, oh, my mental health. Let me tell you something. All these sissies and pansies out there right now, you have no idea what mental health is. I battled it every day as a child when my dad would call me outside of my name because he flipped out. Something got him angry or he heard a big loud noise. We lived by the steel mill, so there was always cranes and steel and blast furnaces. And my dad would go into a state. He would go into a state where he thought he was back in Vietnam. And I was called Charlie, and I was called Gook.
Yeah.
And I got my ass whooped by my dad. I mean, I got beat, and my mom had to stop him multiple times. Mm. But that ass whooping made me the man I am today, because I'll take one, but best believe I'm going to give it back 10 times harder. I never put hands on my father because he's my father. That's first and foremost. It's a rule. But it just, people use this as a crutch today and an excuse to get what they want, to get the things that, sympathy for them. I don't feel sorry for people. I can't feel sorry for people who can't help themselves. So if you're out there with your hand out, poor me, you're damn right, poor you. I've been knocked down. I've been homeless. I've been poor. I've been divorced, lost my kids, got them back, slept in my truck. There's nothing out there worse than, and I never had my hand out. I never asked my parents for a penny. I never asked anybody to help me pick me up. I either had to pick myself up or I had to lay down, and I wasn't ready to lay down.
So tell me, at your height, your peak on the street, what kind of money were you pulling down?
We were doing probably maybe $160,000 a week.
Damn.
Yeah, we were moving 10 to 15 kilos of cocaine, and that was the drug of choice for me. I mean, everything else was nickel and dime weed bags. I didn't deal with it. Look, now it's legal because the government's got to get a piece of it. The cocaine business was it was a crazy business. It was, and it took a lot. It took a lot. It always looked over my shoulder. I always had 3 or 4 guys wherever we went, whenever we go somewhere. It was always, and if I was with my cousins or my family, I made sure they were around, but they weren't seen. I definitely didn't interact that lifestyle with my family. You would never know. My kids never knew. They never knew until I got arrested.
Wow. All right. So
never had it.
You know better than I, but when you're in that street life, there's usually no out.
Yeah, there's no out.
You're in it forever, or it takes you out. So what happened to you?
Well, the guys that we were working with, and it was a partner. He was a partner. He's present. He's right now he's doing time. He told me a long time ago when we joined, there's only 2 kind of people in prison. There's dummies and there's fuck-ups.
Wow.
That's what he told me. And I said, what do you mean? They're both in prison. He goes, a dummy got caught, didn't know any better. Fuck up. Keeps getting caught and keeps getting put in. Which one are you?
Wow.
I said, well, I haven't been in yet, so doing pretty damn good. But if I do, I'll be a dummy. Won't be a fuck up. You get me once, shame on you. You get me twice, shame on me. There'll never be a shame on me. So if you get me once, I'll do my time and get out. Other than that, that was the rule. So we were very careful. He got laxed. He got lazy. He got sloppy. And everything came down on me and another associate. They raided the house. We had just left the stash house. We had just counted up, I don't know, $300,000 in cash for the weekend. And this was on a Sunday morning. We worked all weekend, Friday, Saturday. That was it. 2 days, 300,000. And we just finished cashing it, counting it all up, packaging it up, storing it, with another 5 kilos in the house, under a makeshift staircase. It's a staircase. It was a unit. It's a 3-unit building. But, I used my carpenter skills back then too. And it was all carpeted stairs. You can put your finger in a hole in the corner and pick it up. It's kind of like the Addams Family.
Nice.
When the dragon would come out.
Yeah.
Or the Munsters, the staircase.
Munsters, yeah.
So that's what I did. And we had them all in there. There was somebody there who he was at the time having sexual relations with. And he went out there to do the drop outside and bring it in, and she was looking out the doorway. She saw him. So that was the weekend before. That weekend after that, the doors came crashing in, and they went right to the staircase. They know exactly where. Now, mind you, we've been knocked down a couple times. Nobody ever went to that staircase. No, nobody even. Who thought of it? Who would think of that? Well, they knew exactly where to go. They just couldn't find the money. They couldn't find. We put it in a vent in the kitchen under the kitchen cabinets. That looks like a vent. It's a makeshift vent. They never found the money, but they found the cocaine. He went in. We went to go visit, and then all of a sudden, word starts getting out that we're involved in it. And so to save him, they wanted us too. He gets out. We go in. So this was the whole thing. Well, he owed a lot of money to the guys in Mexico. He got this drugs from. So they're come looking. And like you said, there's only one way in, one way out. Nobody brought me on into their crew to be their partner. People brought me on their crew to go hurt people. And if you're going to bring that in my table, what makes you think that if I don't think for 1 second my life's in danger, I'm going to take you out or have somebody do it? I mean, it's just the way it was. So, and yeah, was it evil? Yes, it was. Was it scary? Yeah, sometimes, but when I said I was done and I'm out, and if anyone comes looking for me, I know where everybody's family lives, where everybody's kids live, grandparents, parents, leave me out. I'm walking away, and this is going to be the end of it. Don't give me a reason to come look for you, because the reason you brought me on was for a reason. So let's just remember that when you decide, I'm going to go get him. Oh, wait a minute. I see things coming before they come. That was my gift. If I walked into a club and I could just see what's going on, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I think we should leave, man. Not this one, not tonight. And then we'd see him on the Chicago news, this club, this and that, and shootings. See, I get out. There's something out. And I didn't know what it was until the night I decided, when I left that stuff, and then I got busted, and my first ex-wife took my children, and I was alone.
How old were your kids roughly at the time?
Ooh, my youngest, who's 24 right now, he's the one who works with me with my business. He was 4.
Wow.
And the rest of them, my daughter's 31. She's the oldest. Well, I have 2 daughters, 33 and 31. So
she would have been, what is that?
20 years ago, she'd have been 20. She'd have been 11.
Yeah.
She was 11. And then the son after her was 9. And then the son after him was 7. So 4, 7, 9, and 11. So
what do you mean she took your kids away? Like, what happened?
Well, we got divorced, and
did you go to jail, or you
I got out. Yeah, I went in and I got right out. They had nothing on me. The bags, nothing, the fingerprints, I never touched them. I was set up. I knew I was set up. And that was my story. I stuck to it. I got off. There's nothing they can do. There was nothing they could do. Even though they wanted me, they knew I had something to do with it. I did, but I played dumb Bobo Jim over there, and hey, I did not touch the bag, so my fingerprints were never on the bag. My fingerprints were on the vehicle, but that's a rental vehicle. How many other fingerprints are on that rental vehicle? I mean, we went through that for months. When I came out, I was like, okay, you know what? My parents finally were wondering where I had been. Kids were coming by the house without dad, which is not likely and not usual. So normal. So when I got out, I said, okay, you know what? I got to figure something out. We're out of here. We left Chicago and went to Indiana. Clean slate, start over. Well, things were getting rocky, and I was finding my niche over there, and I started seeing that going back into transitioning into a dealer, and I didn't want to do that. So my first ex-wife's like, that's it, I'm done. This is it, I'm done. I'm not putting up with this anymore, all your late nights and your whores and your partners and your parties. And okay, I get it. I mean, you live a nice life. You don't have to work. Never did. Never did from day one. You didn't have to work. You had everything you wanted, house, car, kids. What more do you want? But I was no longer the dealer. I was also the dealer / user. Mm. And that's where not getting high off your own supply comes in. So it's a major rule. It will bring your downfall. It will be your downfall. Just like in Scarface, it was his downfall. Yep. Well, it was mine, and I lost my kids. She took off to Puerto Rico with the kids. Came home one day, my house was completely empty. Everything was gone. Furniture, everything. Only thing that was left was my English Bulldog and me. That's it. Kids, everything was gone. I was crushed, so I went into a spiral. I went into a 2-week binge of cocaine and rum like no one's ever seen before. And it was just me and my dog. And then this was one day, I decided, my kids are better off without me because I didn't know the grasp it had on me, that this lifestyle had on me, that I allowed it at that time to have on me. And, so I decided that day I was going to blow my brains out. Yeah. So that's where and now mind you, I'm in my late 20s, going into my early 30s. And I'm going to give everything up so my kids could have a better life with their mom without me. And still not believing in God, because there is no God. I'm still God. I'm just checking out. I'm done. I'm done with everything. I just got the gun not too long. It was a couple of weeks before that, and it was for protection. And I was just sitting there, and I was just in a binger, and I couldn't think straight. And then when you're on that drug for so many days in a row, your mind will play tricks on you. You will see things. You will hear things that are not even there. It's your mind. Like, you need to stop. It's trying to give you a hint that I need to rest because you're still going. It's just a constant battle. And I just remember putting the gun in my mouth, cocking it back, and pulling the trigger. And it jammed. And I think this is the part that I had called when we had talked on the phone about it. I was so angry that it didn't go off that I'm over here messing with it, and I'm popping out the shell, and it comes the bullet comes popping out, and I reload it, and then my phone's ringing and ringing and ringing from a number I don't know, but it doesn't say unknown name, unknown number, private, because I never answer those. Because people are just nosy. But it was a number that I didn't recognize, and I had answered it. And it was a very good friend of mine from high school that he graduated with my older sister. So he was graduated 2 years earlier than me, but we were like best friends. And he went off and got signed to play with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So him being a, beginning professional baseball player, I mean, I didn't want anything to do with him for those 20 years. Drug dealer, and come on, man, I don't want to give the guy a bad. He's always a great guy. And like, long story short, he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, this is Nick." And I knew the voice, and I said, "Nick." I said, "Delgado?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "What are you doing, man?" He's like, "God told me to call you today."
Holy crap.
Yeah, so I was like, God. And now, mind you, I'm still on this bender. I'm wide awake and drunk.
And you haven't talked to this man.
I haven't talked to him in over 20 years.
Wow.
And he goes, dude, I've been trying to get a hold of you for the past week. I finally called your wife. Well, I just found out you guys got divorced. Marilyn, she's in Puerto Rico, right? I said, yeah. I say some things about her that I shouldn't have said because I was in a state of mind. And he's like, bro, he goes, she gave me your number and she hasn't heard from you and the kids haven't heard from you. But God told me to call you today.
Unbelievable.
And I was like, and what did your God tell you to do? He goes, he told me to tell you, whatever you're thinking of doing right now, don't do it. And I was like, damn. So then I look around and I see this mountain of cocaine on my table and all these empty bottles and beer cans. And I just take a quick glance over my left and I see my English bulldog just looking up at me. Like, you're going to kill yourself and leave me. I mean, everybody else left me, right? So that's okay, kids. But that dog was my world. And he was my world to the day he died of cancer. And I thanked him every day for keeping me alive. That is how I have decided that I wasn't God, that there was a higher power. That day I turned my life around and I gave it all to him. I gave it all back to him. And I said, I will not let any man, any woman ever have this, any drug ever have this kind of control over me and my well-being ever again.
So tell me, what was the dialogue that you had? Like, when did the dialogue start with I got to get my stuff together here. I'm going to give my life to him. Like, did it start immediately, or were you in a state of I'm stunned right now, and you had to really think through it? Like, it took
a couple weeks. I'm not going to lie, but so many things had happened after that phone call. We spoke on a daily basis. He prayed for me at the end of that phone call, and I took the gun and I put it away. I unloaded it. I took the clip out. I unloaded the chamber of the clip, and I put it in my drawer and I put it away. I took the cocaine. I took and I wiped everything off the table into a garbage bag. Took my dog out for a walk, and went home. Went back inside. Made a sandwich and fell asleep. And I woke up 3 days later.
Wow.
With the clarity of what did you almost just do? If you loved your kids, why would, and now the common sense starts kicking in. Why would you do that if you love your kids? People say, oh, that's a coward's way out. No, it's not. Let me tell you something.
It takes balls to do that. People say it's cowardly, but
it's not. They know what they're doing. And they got a lot of balls to do it. And they pull it off and they got a lot of balls. But a good friend of mine in LA told me, you know what the last words of someone who commits suicide is? And I said, no. Man, I fucked up.
Wow.
It's too late now. He goes, you survived it. You didn't get to say those last words. Those weren't your last words. And look at you today. You're an actor. You're a business owner. You're a father. You're a grandfather. You're an amazing person. But I started to realize that these things were happening to me and I couldn't believe it. So I ended up getting an interview for a job that I didn't get because I was dirty. Simple as that. I had cocaine in my system. I knew it, but I tried. I wanted to go down the right path. I wanted to get my kids back. So I tried. I didn't get this job. Okay, I was a little pissed. So I was doing side jobs. I had been doing construction all my life, here and there. So my mom calls me up one day. She needs something done. My dad's in Puerto Rico. His dad's sick. My stepdad is sick. He's not going to make it. My grandma's not doing so well. Whatever. Blah blah blah. So I said, okay, that's okay. I'll come by and I'll take care of it for you, Mom. And that was the morning, December 21st in 2012, when I was at a stoplight and there was an armed bank robbery at the BMO Harris Bank that morning. And I said, Jesus, man. And then I hear all the gunshots. And as I'm sitting at the light, and it's catty corner from where I'm sitting at the light, I hear the gunshots, and I look over and I see the police officer's vehicle, his SUV, parked into the front door, blocking it. Big rookie mistake. Biggest rookie mistake always made by rookies. Block the door with the car. They're going to shoot that car. And it was his first day on the job by himself. He had just finished training last week. So I saw him And they came out and they unloaded. They unloaded on that car. Hit him a couple times. I forgot how many times they hit him. If it was a graze in the chest or the arm, but they hit his artery on his leg. He rolls out. These guys take off running, and everybody's sitting there with their stupid phones.
Unbelievable.
Videotaping this guy. Now, mind you, he was I believe he was a Latino, dark-complected Latino officer, rookie. And this guy was turning white. He was going pale. I mean, he was going pale. And I look, and his leg is just, and it's not like in the movies where it doesn't jump like that. It was pouring because your heart's pumping. It's pouring out. And I'm like, oh my God. So I grabbed the belt and I tied it around his leg. And one of the guys came back to finish him. And that was their mistake. Because they came around not knowing that I was on the other side of that SUV with him, comforting him, trying to keep him calm so the ambulance can get there. And then they, oh man, pow. And then they made another shot and it ricocheted. And I was like, you son of a bitch. And I jumped up. He took off running. Now, the other one had already ran behind the bank, which is an alley, and there's a bunch of 6-foot fences. They jumped the fence. And when I turned the corner of the bank, he was maybe a house away, and he's pointing the gun at me and just started shooting. And I just stopped, put my head down, and I could hear it. Like I heard one whiz right by my left ear. Whiz. Just like that. And then I looked up and he jumped the fence. And I looked at myself and I wasn't hit. And I got mad. Went back to my truck. I left it at the light across the street. Jumped in it. Came around. Now they never saw my truck. That was the thing. And I go down. I knew where they were going. And the cops, this is where the whole thing came in, where we were all questioned. How did you know? You were part of this. They cut you out. That's why you knew. I said, no, if you guys would do your job, I said I wouldn't have to do it, because the only way to catch a criminal is if you have to know, think, and be a criminal. And I knew exactly the route they were going to take. It was the fastest route to the highway, to 8094 from Indianapolis Boulevard. But they had to go around that block because that's a one-way. And they had to go nice and smooth, like they were just driving. And that's what they did. They jumped in that car. As soon as I turned the corner, I saw that car door close. Black Cadillac, all decked out, rims, and it just pulls out and it's doing the 15 miles an hour down the street like everybody else. And I come up behind it and I'm just following it. I'm on the phone now with the cops. I'm in front, I'm behind them. I know they're driving this, they're that. We're going down this street. We're going to come up Indianapolis Boulevard and they're going to hit the highway. Well, stand down because they're armed and dangerous. No, they shot at me and they shot at the wrong one today, and I followed them up until the light, and then they recognized me. One of them saw me and started to take the red light, so I hit him and spun him out. And by that time, we had cops coming, and then they led chase and caught them right before they hit Gary, Indiana. But we all got arrested. I had to explain what I was doing there, and it was not kind of not of a believable. So the last thing I got to say was I had to call my mom. And I grabbed the phone right away before the cops pulled me out. I said, Mom, and she's like, what happened? I said, there's a bank robbery. And she's like, I know, it's all over the news. I said, they're taking me in. I couldn't finish it. So I just told her, tell my kids I love them. That's it. Because I just handed myself to these guys on a silver platter. And it was crazy the way everything happened. The feds just believed that I was part of it. And I said, I don't even know these guys. When the cop came through the emergency surgery, he asked, where was the guy who helped me? So when he said that, the Hammond PD went over to the feds and said, hey, this is our witness. It happened, on our streets. It happened in the bank. They didn't happen in the bank. They shot the cop coming out of the bank. This guy's a witness. And he followed them. He led us to them. And so they let Hammond take me home, and, they didn't cuff me. And I was kind of like, oh man, it's kind of like, hey, you just want a boat, come pick it up, and then you get inside the door and they handcuff you, put you in a wagon. So I was like, oh man, just a million things going through my mind. And they said, hey, we're just going to tell you something. Don't leave Hammond for a week. I said, oh, I'm going to be here with my mom. I got nowhere to go. And the cop said that he wasn't part of that. He came from across the street. The guy ran from across the street. I saw him running toward me, and I thought he was one of them, but he was helping me. So he couldn't have been one of them. And, then when they testified, when they questioned them, of course, they said, we don't even know who the hell that guy is. He just came out of nowhere. And then next thing you know, they asked me, what can we do for you? We can't give you a reward. The money was technically never missing. I said, bullshit, it was out of the bank. Come on. It was out of the bank. It was missing. It was on its way. So I said, well, I don't know there's nothing I can ask for. I said, but, I would like a second chance at life, man. I would like a clean slate to start all over. Take everything that you guys know about me and just, I don't care, bury it, burn it, disintegrate it, throw acid on it. I don't care what you guys do. I said, I want to be able to be a citizen, and I want to be able to have a clean slate to start over. A few weeks later, my brother, Irvin Gibbons, he was a Gary PD, SWAT narcotics. He ran my name all the time for me. Every time I feel that they were looking for me, I already knew they were coming. He helped. I'm his brother. Regardless, I'm his brother first. And I used to have him run my name constantly. And he kept, you're still there. And then one day he just called me. He goes, bro, you're a ghost. I checked every base. You're not in the feds. You're not in county. You're not in nothing. State, nothing. You're a ghost. Week later, I went and I applied for a job at the U.S. Steel. I got it. Same job I applied for, that I was dirty and I had a record and they wouldn't let me.
Wow. So in the timeline where you started to give your life over and believe in God, did that overlap this event?
No, this is all after this event, because the next event was 2 weeks later, my brother and I got Tboned and rode into a ditch in my mom's vehicle while they were in Puerto Rico because of the illness of my step-grandfather. And they had to fly back because nobody knew what would happen, but they saw the car on the TV and they're like, these guys are dead. And I walked away.
Wow.
I walked away from a five-time rollover accident. Tboned. My brother was ejected. I got him up to the top where the ambulance was at. And the record said, this guy's got to be dead. Been doing this 35 years. They know I'm walking away from that. He goes, that guy did. And brought up his brother too. And that's when I knew that was here for a certain reason. I'm here. There's no way. I had too many brushes with death in the past when I thought I was God and I didn't believe. Something told me, hey, you need to start praying again. And I did. I got my kids back. I got the job at the U.S. Steel. Started going back to church. And then I get a call from NBC, the casting people, about auditioning for a show called Chicago Fire. I thought it was the Chicago Fire soccer team. I said, I don't play soccer. I'm not one of those Mexican guys, and it's kind of got a chuckle out of it. She's like, no, it's just the number one show on NBC. I said, honey, in my life, I don't watch TV in my line of business. Don't have time to watch TV. She goes, well, I mean, you're out there chasing down bad guys for fun on your days off, getting shot at. You might want to try it in front of a camera. It's safer. And here we are. I mean, after that, it took off to 4 seasons as a featured firefighter with no lines, to the 4th season when they gave me my lines and they cut off my leg. I couldn't come back. Doing multiple Heltman's commercials, doing shows in L.A., and then coming back here and playing Johnny Marquez on Chicago PD on season 6, episode 3, Bad Boys. Of course, season 6, episode 3, Bad Boys. And I was Johnny Marquez, the big drug dealer in Chicago that everything goes through. So it kind of went full circle, and since then, I said, well, I need to do something because it was interfering with my job. My love is for acting. Love it. My job at the mill was interfering with that. We went from 8-hour days, weekends off, to 7 days, 12 hours. I couldn't do it. So I walked out. One night, guy called off and it was in due 16. I was supposed to be on set for Chicago PD. The night of Johnny Marquez's first debut. And
wow.
Guy called off, said, hey, you're stuck for 16. I said, the hell I am. I said, he's called off twice already this week and you guys ain't done nothing to this guy. I said, I'm out. And he's like, well, you need to make a choice between your career and your hobby. So I took my badge off. I said, this is my hobby. And I walked out. Everybody laughed and said, you're never going to make it. Now they're all following my pages.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this transition of, were you not a believer in God or were you angry at God? Because
I was at 12 when my grandfather passed. I got angry. I got very angry. And so I went from 12 to 20, 30 something years old, not believing in God. Mm. If there's a God, how could there be so much, evil in the world? That was always my question. My kids were not allowed to spend the night in nobody's house. I didn't trust people, especially pedophiles. I don't know who's out there. You have a dog and your dog bites your neighbor or your neighbor's kid and they want to put your dog to sleep. It was an accident. Maybe the kid startled or the person startled your dog and he snapped at him or she snapped at him and, got to put your dog to sleep. So we're going to put a dog to sleep for nipping at a person? Well, we can allow pedophiles to run free in our streets to keep molesting children. To me, that's an evil world that we live in. And the only thing that's going to fight the evil is the good. And a well-known atheist, I did my homework. I read history, real history, not American history, because American history is a lot of BS. It's what they want you to know about the stuff that they did. They don't want you to know what they did.
I'm with you, brother. So I'm 100% with
that
you.
American history, it's a joke. So I go deep into history. I go into Mexican history, Mexican American, Puerto Rican American. That's who I am. That's what I am. My father's Puerto Rican, my mom's Mexican. I go into Aztec, Indian, Mayan, all of them, Native American. And I find there's a common denominator here of evil. Americans. It's just what they did when they came here to the Native Americans. And how are we going to tell people you can't come here? This is our country. Wow. We put the originators of this country on reservations. We did a lot of bad stuff. We, not me, but Americans, Europeans, Columbus, they did a lot of bad things. Raping, pillaging, killing. So I know the history. And I know that there's also a well-known atheist who wrote a book. An atheist, that Jesus is real. Because they gave him the job. They came out of retirement, and he was a reporter. He was the biggest atheist out there, biggest religion hater out there. They gave him a report to do and said, if you are so sure and positive, and you're the best of the best out there in journalism, that Jesus never existed, prove it. And this man went through years, decades of paperwork and this and that. And he found out. He said, now, I can't tell you if there's a God, but Jesus was a living human being that did walk this earth and is no longer found. His DNA is not of human. So he was a human. He went to the tomb. He found the sheath. They did DNA swab. This guy is a forensic scientist and he's a journalist and he's found everything out. He believes. So if an atheist that was born and raised as an atheist all his life until his 80s and 70s can turn around and say, man, there is a Jesus. That Jesus lives. What's my excuse?
That's pretty cool. So I've had this discussion with many people about when they disagree with you.
Oh, yeah.
One of my friends, he's very like-minded, but I made a video about chemtrails. Mm-hmm. And he goes, chemtrails don't exist. I'm like, either by the scientific method or any other method, you cannot prove something doesn't exist.
Right.
It's impossible. You cannot prove God doesn't exist. Jesus doesn't exist. We don't have any methods to prove something doesn't exist.
Right.
Because it can always be there even if we can't find it. Right. So that's interesting. And I wanted to talk to you about, circle back on the history. All countries write their own history, and all countries have the same kind of blackness that ours does.
Yes.
Because it's the nature of man, as you already said. The nature of man has never changed.
No.
It's been the same way since the beginning of time.
Conquer, divide.
So let me throw one of my fundamental principles at you and see what you think. Man has a great capacity for evil. We're in agreement on that.
Yes.
The way the brain works is we're all born with certain wiring, and one of our wires is greed. We have it. Mm-hmm. Greed for knowledge, greed for abundance, greed to spread our seed. It's there for a reason, okay? But the heroin for the brain is the greed for wealth and power.
Yep.
And once the brain gets a taste of that, it gets addicted and it cannot turn it off. So a guy doesn't make his first $1 million and go, okay, I'm done, or his first billion and go, okay, I'm done. That greed just fuels the fire to the point where the human being loses their humanity. They no longer care even about life. They call it psychopath. So this is what happened early in our history, especially when whoever you want to say came over and they were killing, the Native Americans and doing all that stuff. And when we look at it, that is our history, but that isn't us. You didn't come here. Your lineage wasn't here, and neither was mine.
Right.
But it is part of our history. And when you talk about, the history books, these two college guys, they were roommates. They were history majors, and they became best friends. Okay. So their hobby was collecting history books. So they were buying these history books, American history books, that were written in the 1800s and 1900s, and they were watching the evolution of the story. Like, for instance, the Civil War ended in the 1860s, right? And you would read a history book about the Battle of Gettysburg, written right after the Civil War, where many of the accounts were by veterans who fought on both sides.
In detail,
right?
exactly.
So you're getting like a real life account of what happened, right? And then 50 years later, the next edition of the history book, the story changed. The body count changed. And then you get to modern day history, and there's not even a story about the Battle of Gettysburg.
It's a whole new narrative.
Like, the whole story has changed. And it's like, I have a chapter in my book called Facts. And every time someone says, here are the facts, follow the science, I cringe, because I say, if you and I were standing shoulder to shoulder on the street corner and we witnessed a car accident and the police came to get our story, your story wouldn't match mine. No. And if they asked us to retell our story a week later, our story wouldn't even match our own story.
Our original story, right?
So then you go, what are the facts? What is history? Right. So we are in dark times. You and I talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
I think we both feel like our republic, we've lost it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel that the country is not as sovereign as it used to be. It's not as free as it used to be. I believe it's all with greed, like we spoke about, the money and the power. When they don't control it, and they can't control that narrative, they can't control people. We live in a country where everybody says the land of the free and the home of the brave. It's the land of the free because of the brave.
Amen.
Okay? Because I have my dad's friends who are no longer with him, that he watched die in Vietnam. I know their families and their kids, that they grew up without their dad. So my dad's like their second dad, because that's how tight we all were. So we're here, and we can say and do the things we want to say and do because of people like my dad.
Oh, yeah.
So he might not be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or Al Pacino or Robert De Niro or Jack Nicholson, but he's my dad, and he is a hero. He is a warrior. So, and I'm honored to carry his name. I'm honored to have that surname, Jose Antonio Santiago Jr. Because when I leave this place, this is my temporary home. That's how I look at it. This is not I don't live here. I'm just vacating space. None of us belong here. It depends on what you do here and how you go about it. My home is in another area where there is no disease and there is no greed and no evil. That's the home I want to go to. Do I want to go right now? No. I have a very nice lifestyle. I have a beautiful fiance. I have my amazing, handsome, beautiful grandsons and granddaughters, my beautiful kids. And I'm fortunate enough to still have my two parents here that brought me into this world. So before they leave, I want to show them that this guy, the drug dealer, the gangbanger, the shooter, the drug addict, the suicide watch guy, is now their biggest accomplishment.
I love that.
And it's because of them that I changed and like I said, everybody puts things on you and, oh, remember when you did it? Those are two words that I cannot stand. Remember when. Because right when you hear remember when, nothing good ever follows that sentence. Trust me, I know, I've lived it. Oh, remember when I helped you? Remember when we did it? Nothing good. Remember when is in the past. I don't live in the past. I don't live for the past. It was a life lesson. Stop treating my past as my life sentence. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. And I'm going to leave for my grandchildren and my children a legacy that they'll never ever have their heads down on. They'll always have their head up.
I have to show this because I take notes, and that bottom word is legacy. I was going to ask you about that, and you just said it. Look at that.
I was wondering what you were doodling over there. I'm like, okay. Well, see, I mean, to me, that's my goal in life. That's what I have to leave my children and my grandsons and my granddaughters. So I'm building this construction company. It's been going for 6 years. It's getting bigger. It's getting busier. Unfortunately, we can't find people to work. So me and my son do most of the work. I'll do some subcontracting out. But at the end of the day, when I'm checking out and my time it's over here and I'm going home, I can't rest in peace if I didn't leave something for those babies, because God only knows what's going to be left for them in 20 or 30 years from now.
Yeah.
God only knows. And people say, well, I said, it's going to be pretty sad when my grandson's got to ask a female, were you born a boy or a girl, before they date somebody? And that's the kind of sick, twisted, evil world we're living in.
Yeah. It's
where we're promoting evil and reprimanding for the good. And I think that's wrong.
Yeah. So a couple things. The legacy, a university did a study with old people, and they found out that there's 3 phases to life if you live long enough. The first phase is about learning and growth and go, right? And if you live long enough to get to the second phase where you start to have success, you start to think about giving back a little bit.
Yeah.
And if you live long enough, you start to think about, what am I going to leave behind? What will my legacy be, right? So you and I are both blessed, and I'll tell you why. We launched into that phase 3 early in life.
Yeah.
So my thing was with my best friend, who he was diagnosed with cancer when I was in my early 40s. Mm. It wasn't his death, it was his diagnosis. I'm like, dude, this guy's my age. He's going to die. And I always say life is short, but I wasn't living my life in such a way where it was reflective of
right.
that, sweating the small stuff. And I leapfrog into that legacy too. What am I going to leave behind?
Yeah.
That means for me, you and I define our legacies. Like, I have this vision of, at my memorial service, my kids, my sons are going to say my dad was a badass. He never complained. He worked hard. He was tough. He was fearless. I want my friends to say he was a first responding friend. He was my best friend. He saved my life, whatever, and so on and so on. So to fill out this criteria of what I want to leave behind, I have to be the best and strongest version of myself. Because I'm getting ready to put a pistol to my head. I am not that person.
Yeah.
A goodbye legacy. You see what I'm saying? And you had a series of events in your life that pushed you right into that legacy piece.
Yeah, it sped it up. Let's say it that way. It sped it up to the point where now it's like, I live every day. I get up every morning. I thank God for my first breath. I roll over. I give my fiance a kiss. I get up. I let my dogs out, because they're my little boys. Those are my hearts. I got a little French bulldog, and I got another English bulldog. It took 7 years to get another English bulldog after Big Diesel.
Why? Just you couldn't?
I couldn't do it.
Find it in your heart, right?
I couldn't do it. I mean, he was my son, and man, he was there he had been there for 7 years of the worst of my time. I wish today he could see me today.
His existence was instrumental in pulling you out of the darkness.
Yeah, it was. It was. And the English bulldog I have now, his name's Dallas. That's a bitch. He's just like Diesel. He does things only Diesel did.
Isn't that crazy?
And I told her, I said, this is him. He's back. 7 years.
He could be.
7 years I've been without him and miserable. And then I finally, I'm going to get another English bulldog. And I take the shot, and I get a clone of my Diesel. And his name's Dallas.
That's pretty cool. I'm going to introduce you to my girl, Gemma, when we're done. You'll love her. She's a big baby Rottweiler. All right. So we're in agreement about like we're in the darkest world ever.
Yes.
Like you fear for your kids and grandkids. I do as well. Almost crazy. People think I'm crazy when I go, whatever way it's going to crescendo, I hope it happens in my lifetime so I can be part of fighting back.
Yes.
Because I don't want them to do it on their own.
Yeah, I don't want them being by themselves. I mean, like, again, how could you rest in peace? I couldn't. And my grandkids will tell you that whenever they come to the house, I can't breathe. Let's just put it that way. I can't breathe because I got 2 over here on this leg, 2 over here on this leg, and this one's sitting on this one on my back. I got 11 grandkids now.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what, man, to hear them say Papa, I want to give them what I didn't have. See, my grandfather died when I was 12. I didn't have a grandfather after that. So I want to give these kids, I want to see my grandkids graduate.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see them at their first dance. I want to see them win their first award. You know, the things that I've done now that my grandfather never, ever got a chance to see physically. Mentally, I know he has. Emotionally, I know he has. But he didn't. My grandmother lived to be 92, and she saw me come back.
Nice.
And she actually waited. I was in LA when she was in hospice, and my mom was like, I don't think she's gonna make it past this week. And I said, I need to leave. And the director's like, oh, you can't leave here. I said, my grandmother's going, and something's keeping her. I gotta go. So she had been in a vegetative state for almost 2 weeks. She didn't talk. She didn't eat. She wouldn't move. She was just frozen in time. And as soon as I walked through the door, she woke up.
Wow.
And my mom was just in tears. She had to walk out the room. My grandmother reached up, grabbed my cheeks, and said, I'm very proud of you, Papacito. I'm always going to love you. And I said, you can go, Mom. I'm here. You can go. She waited for me. She wasn't going to go until she saw me.
Wow.
And then next day she passed away.
What a gift.
Yeah. That's a gift that I want to give my grandkids when it's time for me to check out. You know? That's being real. It's not a tough guy. It's a man with a heart. Because I did so much bad that my heart has gotten so big for people that I just keep helping. I help out a lot of my clients. I'm like the most sought out contractor in Indiana right now. Because some guys will come in and tell you $20,000, $30,000 for a job that only costs 10. I'll do it for 9. Help you out. I'm not trying to get rich off you. I'm trying to make your life richer.
Nice. I love that. I won't steal that from you. You hit home, but your grandmother. I just lost my wife on January 2nd.
Oh,
She died in my arms on the airplane, touching down to the cancer center. Literally, it was like right out of a movie. It was a long flight. She was weak. We know she was in bad shape. She had stage 4, and we were going to Hope for Cancer, which is it's like the mecca of holistic healing. It's in Tijuana. They were going to pick us up at the airport. She was so weak, and you know I did videos on this already, but the Southwest people were on top of it. Do you want us to have the paramedics meet us? And I didn't know, like, she was dying on the plane, but she was getting weaker and more tired. Yeah. And as we were touching down, I reached across to hold her in her seat, and I put my head on her, and I could feel her. She was taking her last breaths, and I was talking to her. So but see, that to me was also a gift.
It was. How many people can say that? I mean, my grandmother saw all the grandkids, all my brothers and sisters. But
she woke up for you, and she gave you a huge gift.
Yeah, and I'll never forget that. You know, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter how bad of a person you were, or how bad of a person you actually are. Somebody somewhere out there, man, loves you unconditionally. And I found that. You know, I also found that as being a chef for 14 years. I found that love by feeding people and doing charity work and feeding the hungry and shelters. I found that. And I was blessed enough to take my kids and say, you guys complain about all the fancy food you guys get to eat. Well, I was a fine dine chef. There was no McDonald's in my house. Steaks, fillets, duck, ribs, ribeyes. That's where my kids were raised, but they're spoiled. So I had to bring you down. I had to bring you down to reality. Let's go every Thanksgiving for 3 years in a row. I made them go with me, and we fed hungry families.
Awesome.
And I remember the look on their faces when kids, their age, 10, 9, 8, 11. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Not to me, to them.
Wow.
Because they got a hot meal. And I said, don't be skimpy. Give them more. Because who knows when they're going to eat again. So you guys get to go home to eat my food. This is a treat. This is a gift for these kids. And they're calling you kids, ma'am and sir. My kids to this day will order food at a restaurant, pack up to go, and if they see somebody, they give them the food.
Wow, that's awesome.
Just give it to them. Because that's what I raised. No one should be hungry, especially a kid. No kid should go hungry. And we got all this money for everything else. Billions of dollars for other countries, Ukraine and the Philippines or Taiwan, whatever. Man, we've got 14 million kids hungry here in America.
I agree with them.
100 billion. Do the math. I mean, I'm not a mathematician. I was never good at math. I was good at counting money, but I was never good at math. $1 billion divided by 14 million kids. Wow. That's a lot of meals. And not only that, another 30 million vets.
I heard a statistic that $100 billion would give every homeless veteran $4 million.
Yeah.
And put them in their pocket.
Yeah.
After we finish the podcast today, I want to talk to you about some ideas, because I want to start a food pantry. Maybe we can do that together.
Oh, yeah.
Because nobody should be going hungry in this
especially a
country.
veteran, not somebody who fought for me.
And I think you and I, and I'm on the food thing with you, brother. I'm not a classically trained chef, but I can throw down. We have all the family functions
we
here.
can throw down.
My son got married here, 55 people on Cinco de Mayo. We had lunch and dinner out of this kitchen. We did a taco lunch and a prime rib dinner.
There you go.
With, salmon fillet kickers on each table. But the food is a big thing. Nothing brings people together better than good food.
That's why I tell everybody the heart of the house is the kitchen.
No doubt.
That is the heart of the home. Anybody who comes through your house has a reason to be in the kitchen, whether it's to get something to drink, maybe get a snack, or maybe just because they're hungry. So they don't go to your bedroom to get something to drink or snack. The heart of the house has always been the kitchen. When I became a chef, my kitchens were my heart. My servers and my cooks and my prep cooks and my sous chefs were my family. And I put that family in front of everybody for 14 years. And I blinked and my daughter was 18 years old. Never get it 14 years back. So from that time, and she was pregnant, graduating high school.
Wow.
My little girl, when I started, she was 4. Now 18. Drug dealer by night, chef during the day. I had a perfect cover-up. And that's why I was untouchable. But I robbed my kids for 14 years. My daughter. And I regretted it. And you know what? That day I said, I'll never go back to work for somebody in the kitchen ever again. And I never did. I became the best father, the best ex-husband, the best grandfather for my firstborn granddaughter, who is now 13.
Crazy.
Who's now 13. This December, she turns 13. 14. They're teenagers now.
Do you want to go into a little bit of the politics?
Yeah, why not?
So, let's kick it off with this. Who's your most famous client that you cook for?
Donald Trump.
Get out of here.
Yep. He was hosting I don't know if he was hosting the Republican Party or a fundraiser or something. There were multiple people there at Trump Tower. I was his personal chef that day. I got called in from the business that we do. It's a catering company that caters to the elites in New York. So I got called in that nobody wanted to come in, and I was there at the bar. I had my first drink. I'm like, yeah, I'll go. So I go back to my place, grab all my stuff, my jacket, my hat, my case of knives, and all the bougie stuff that you got to grab when you're doing the personal chef stuff, And they just give me an address. That's it. So all right, catch a cab over there. I get out. It says Trump Tower. So, okay, maybe somebody's having a party here. And get all the way up to the penthouse. As soon as I got to the front desk, they said, oh, chef, yes. They said, come with us. And they took me to the service elevator, not the main elevator. The service elevators don't want to go straight to the penthouse. See, the other ones, they go up and they stop.
And then you got to get another one.
Then you got to go another one.
Yeah.
And then, so the service one goes from downstairs, lobby. There's no stops. It's just to his penthouse. So I get there, and I'm like, wow, it is what it is. It is what everybody thinks it is. It's all gold and mirrors. I mean, I thought it's the Taj Mahal, Trump Tower. I'm here. So I'm there, and the security's like, okay, we need you here set up in the kitchen. Is this big enough? I said, this is plenty of room. We got it's a nice size corner kitchen overlooking Manhattan. So it's really nice. It's probably about the size of this first floor. That's the kitchen. It's floor to ceiling refrigerators and stoves, and it was just marble. It was just great. So I get there and I'm cooking. And they go, oh, it's only one thing. Don't stare at Melania. I said, oh, okay. She's a beautiful woman, Yeah. She comes down in a bathrobe in the kitchen, and I got three guys with me, and I'm like, don't keep your heads down. Don't look. You heard what security said. So I glance over. I said, good evening, and she's like, oh, good evening, and very heavy accent, very sweet lady. So I said, let's go, and they say, sir, can you do a special dish? I said, yeah, whatever you guys want. I saw Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Al Gore, Bush, a lot of the Hollywood and a lot of New York elites at this party. This was just I don't know what it was for. It was just a party, and hors d'oeuvres were being sent out, and we're sending them out by the platefuls and the platterfuls, and the people are very well tipped. All the servers that I brought were very well tipped that night. Next thing you know, I'm cutting away and getting stuff ready, and this person comes next to me, reaches over and grabs something that I was fixing for an hors d'oeuvre, and oh, this is great. I look up and it's Donald Trump. And I said, oh, how you doing, Mr. Trump? He goes, please, it's just Donald. Or just call me DT. Everybody calls me DT. I said, okay. I kept saying Mr. Trump. He goes, just Donald. Just say Donald. I said, okay. So I said, so what is this occasion for so I can get the menu prepped? I know you guys gave me a little bit of what's going on here. I said, but I would like to do something special for you. I didn't know I was cooking for you. He goes, oh, you're not cooking for me. You're cooking for all the people out there. I just host these parties. They just come for free because they can eat and drink. he was just a great guy. And so I said, okay. So he's like, hey, can you do me a favor? He goes, a Swedish meatball recipe? I said, yeah. Matter of fact, I do. I said, I just finished doing one before I got here to New York. I was back at Innsbruck Country Club in Indiana. And he's like, do you mind making me 250 of those? Do I have enough stuff here? I said, I bought plenty of beef. So yeah, we can, and veal and stuff like that. So yeah, and sausage, we can definitely make those for you. I said, who are they for? He goes, well, send 200 out to the party, but leave the other 50 in the fridge for me. Me and Melania are going to take that when we go out tonight we're flying out to the Swiss Alps. Okay. So I get to working and, I get my cream. I send the guy down to the store because I need some more herbs and stuff like that. And come back, and there's these 200 on trays, and then a nice, wasn't a gold tray, a regular old aluminum foil tray with aluminum on it of his 50 Swedish meatballs. And I'll never forget when he tasted it. He says, who taught you how to make this? So I didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing. And I said, a really good friend of mine, he's an executive chef, and I was his executive sous chef. We've worked together for 5 years before I came out to New York. And he's like, that reminds me of my mom's.
Wow.
He goes, that's a dead-on recipe. He goes, man, you did well. Thank you, chef. So I told him thank you, and then we were there, and he went out to mingle. I sent my crew home because everything was coming to an end. It was like almost 10:30, 11 o'clock. The party's getting ready. Go ahead, guys, get out of here. I'll clean up. Don't worry about it. I didn't mind being there. So I got to catch a cab back to my island, Roosevelt Island, which is off Manhattan. It's on tram because the last tram leaves, I forgot, at like 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then there's no more tram until the morning. So I said, well, I got to get out of here. I got to catch a cab. He goes, well, catch a cab? Where are you going? I told him Roosevelt Island. He goes, we'll drive you. We're leaving. We're going to the airport. We're going that way. I said, are you sure? I don't want to take you out of the way. He goes, come on, let's go. So we go. All of us, we're leaving. We take the service elevator down to the ground level. He's the only building, by the way, just so everybody knows. He's the only building with an alley in New York. Nobody has alleys. Nobody has service entrances. All the trash goes in the streets. He's the only building that has an alleyway for him. So we get down there, and there was 4 homeless guys out there, vagrants, that were wrapped. This is right around November, so it's pretty chilly out there right now. And they're all bundled up in their sleeping bags and their makeshift tents and their boxes. And when we walked down, I noticed him look, and he kind of got the attention of his security detail, like, hey, what's going on here? And they're like, oh, we'll take care of it, DT. He's like, no, I got it. And I just sat back. I was just expecting the worst, because, this is Donald Trump. Don't just lounge around on his property like that, And he went up to them. Now, mind you, I don't think, maybe a lot of us carry dollar bills in our pockets, $5 to $10. Donald Trump was known to carry nothing but hundreds. That's his change was $100 bills, if not more. All right. I literally sat there and watched him wake up every one of the homeless guys that was sleeping back there in his service entrance. And I could hear him ask them to please do not sleep here and vacate this area because this is private property that he owns. And I saw him count 5 times per person. And he said, go get somewhere, something warm to eat and somewhere warm to sleep tonight. That's the Donald Trump that I know.
$500 bills to each one.
He counted, unless he had pennies or dollars, which he never carries. He counted. Right then I'm watching him. I asked the security detail, I said, this normal? He's like, that's who he is.
Yeah.
He goes, we were just going to tell him to leave. He's a New Yorker. He's got love for people. And I was like, wow. And that was the first time I worked for him. I did work for him 2 more times after that, and then I came back home. But by far, the nicest guy I've ever worked for, the best boss. On top of being paid very well to show up to this event, he gave me, when he dropped me off at the tram to get over to my island, and then they headed out to the airport, he gave me an extra $250 tip.
Wow.
And I was like, you already paid me, sir. He's like, those meatballs, they were worth every bit of
nice.
It. And he took off, shook my hand, gave me a pat on the back, like a hug, and he took off.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing how at one juncture, he was the media darling. Everybody loved him, including the people now who are his enemies. Everybody wanted to hang with him.
Well, when people know your secrets, they become your enemies. I saw them people there. And that's why this whole race, when he was out there and I saw the Clintons and the Obamas and everybody coming at him, I'm like, you guys are hypocrites. I was at the party. I was the chef.
Yeah.
You guys were all there having fun and drinking and jiving and laughing and giggling. What does he have on you? That's the question. Because you have nothing on him. His life's an open book. What does he have on you guys that you guys hate him so much? What are you so afraid of? Me, I'm afraid of nothing. And my fiance, my parents will tell you this, he fears nothing. Where I come from, how I was brought up, how I raised myself, fear got you killed. And I don't do any more wrong in my life to fear anybody. I wake up, I like the man I see in the mirror. I thank God for that man. I thank my mom and dad for that man. I thank my beautiful fiance who has had a lot to deal with being someone like me. Backlash or talk or, oh, do you know who he is? She doesn't care. She's in love with the man that you see today, Frank. And that everybody knows today. That's the man she's in love with. Again, life lessons, man, not a life sentence. It's not who I am anymore. So what does he know about these individuals that'll do everything in their power to get rid of him? Well, he knows a lot. He knows a lot. Yeah, and they see the pictures. Oh, him and Epstein. Epstein put himself in everybody's pictures. Epstein put himself in every party of the elites just so he could snag those photos with Donald Trump, Oprah, Obama, Clinton. But, I mean, who's been to the island? That's my question. Where's the logs? Because this lady, Maxine Giselle,
whatever, yeah,
Giselle Maxwell. She's going to get out. She's going to get out because Epstein made a contract with the government. If they got him and he confessed and he went to trial, they could not arrest or prosecute anybody in his circle. And the government signed that deal. As soon as he killed himself, supposedly, they're going to arrest her. They broke the deal. When she does, she's got a book writing right now. I can't wait to read that one because that's going to give up names. Just the same thing with this Puff Daddy thing. It's crazy.
Is Epstein still alive? I think he's alive.
Oh, yeah. I think he is.
They rolled a red carpet and he walked right out of there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There was no way that man with that kind of money and that kind of edge on everybody, there's no way he killed himself. There's no way he hung himself. Come on.
That guy was so smart. He would have, he'd have informants all over the place. If anything happens to me.
You know what to do.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So when they couldn't get the informants, they grabbed her. But she was on the do not prosecute list that the government signed that they weren't going to come after her. Why would you sign something like that if you didn't know something was going to happen to you? Usually you get arrested, you sit in jail until you go to court. That's it. Then you get sentenced. Either you get released, you get sentenced, you go to prison. That's the way it's always been since I was growing up. But for some reason, he made them sign a waiver that they cannot prosecute anybody like Maxwell or any of his people. And yet he dies and all of a sudden they prosecute. So how good is the government's word on that? Oh, we're only here to help. Thought Ronald Reagan said it the best. The worst 9 words you can hear were from the government. We're here to help. Ronald Reagan said that, our president.
Is there any justice left in the justice system?
Not today.
I don't think so.
I think it's all about who's got the money. There's players, there's puppets, and there's gatekeepers. Okay, the WHO, what is it? The World Health Organization. They decide what's the next play going to be. Vanguard, BlackRock, and all them, and Stella, whatever they are, Stellar. They control. If you look at your mortgage on this house, if it's not paid off, which hopefully it is, but if it's not, look at the new terms on every mortgage, every house brought in the U.S. today. I don't care where it's at. Look at read, people. That's the problem with us. We like to sign, and scroll, and check, and scroll. You're not reading what they're selling you. They're selling you false hope. It says, and I just purchased our house last year, and I questioned it at the signing. I said, who the hell's a tenant? I'm not renting my house. That should say homeowner. That's their new. Oh, well, that's the way they're printing out all the new contracts. Okay, well, who's the tenant? Because I'm buying this. Me and my fiance are purchasing this. We are buying this. So I'm not renting it from you. I'm buying it off of you. Who in the hell is the tenant? Then you look at way at the back of those, in that little fine print. It's either Vanguard or BlackRock. That all these Michigan Mutuals and all these different mortgage entities respond to. They own 95% of the country right now. Nobody will ever own land in the United States because they're buying it all up. And by you signing the tenant, you're giving up. So you could pay your house off in 3 years. You never own it. You still got to pay them, which is, I don't understand. People who worked 30, 40, 50 years, retired, paid off their homes, paid off their land. How are you still paying taxes? Our dollar is worth about 35 cents, 38 cents right now. It's pretty pathetic that we got to give 7% in Indiana for the state. Illinois is high. Then you got to give the feds. By the time it's all over, that $1 is actually 38 cents in your pocket. How in the hell are people going to live? How are you going to make a living? How are you going to support your family? You're not. You're supporting the greed of the government. You're supporting Big Brother, Vanguard, BlackRock.
And they own all the politicians.
And
too.
they got every one of them in their pocket.
The thing that fascinates me, and you and I, we're deep into all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're in agreement on all this stuff. What's super fascinating to me is how easily people's minds are hijacked.
Very.
Like, you're somebody who lives and learns. We don't all live and learn. And I have a chapter in the book, Live and Learn. If you're living and learning, you're one of the fortunate few, because most people, they're not living and learning.
Right.
And intelligence has nothing to do with common sense. And in fact, it almost is a counterweight against common sense.
They want you to believe that intelligence today is ignorance. That's the magician. Sleight of hand. Hey, look over here. Look, all this stuff's happening over here. But you never see what the trick hand's doing. Because the trick is being given under the table, but we're so busy. What was the TV called originally when it came out?
The TV?
Yeah. What was it called?
It was called a lot of things. Which one are you?
The boob tube.
The boob tube.
You know why? Because you were a booby.
Yeah.
And you just sat there. And so now we got the boob tube people.
Yep.
And they believe everything on these things. I only have this because I need it for the kids, the grandkids, my mom and dad, my fiance, and business. My agent calls me on here. I get emails on here. I own a computer at home. I'm never on it. I don't like computers. I'm old school, man. Just write me a note, put it in the mailbox. I'll get it a couple of days later. Snail mail. I'm okay with that. I love old school, but that's poison. And it's not only poisoning the people of our age today, it's also poisoning our kids.
More so.
The tablets and oh my God. I mean, I can't anymore. But, here's the thing. And for anybody out there watching, if you think I'm lying, if you just purchased a house, do me a favor. Look through your contract and you'll never see the word homeowner. You're going to see tenant. Guarantee it. Because I signed mine last year. And I questioned every page that said tenant. The tenant agrees. The tenant agrees. The tenant. Why am I a tenant? Who am I renting from? I thought I was buying. That's
interesting. I'm a realtor, so I have to look at the mortgage documents.
Look at them. Yeah. So I was just going to say, aren't you? Watch them. It doesn't say homeowner no more. It says the tenant. And no one sees that because they're so busy. Sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here. Imagine how long the process would be if somebody actually like me sat there and said, I'm going to read this whole thing before I sign it. Well, we better not start at 5 p.m. because we're not getting out till like 2 a.m. I mean, we're going to start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to read every page. And then, I have a question about this. I'll make a mark. And then before I go back and sign everything, we need to talk about now you got 100, 200 pages. Think about it. That's a lot of discussion that's an 8-hour day. And then maybe he might sign, maybe he might not. But if you're a realtor, so I'm telling you, look at the new contracts and agreements for home purchasers. It says tenant.
One of the reasons that the market is bad for realtors is, there's no inventory.
Right.
Well, when, BlackRock.
They bought them up.
Yeah. Not ever to hit the market again.
Right.
To be rental properties.
Yes.
So
tenant.
Typically every 5 to 7 years, people buy and sell a house, keep the inventory alive. They're buying the houses and renting them out to tenants forever. We'll have another couple podcasts and we'll talk about the state of the world because we can talk a lot about that. But so on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how happy are you?
How happy am I?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a 10.
You're the first person that ever answered that way.
I'm a 10. I believe that everything I have is not deserved because I don't deserve anything. No one owes me anything. I don't deserve the best of nothing. I am a 10 because of the lifestyle that I decided to live now. I am a 10 because of my health, the health scare that I had with the vocal cord cancer a couple years ago, where they had to either stop smoking and doing all the bad stuff, which a lot of it had to do with the cocaine. And or they were going to remove my voice box, and I was going to talk to one of these things. And I said, that was it. That was it. Done. They pack out the window. Never again. Because I needed my voice, because that's what makes me who I am.
And you got a booming voice, by the way.
I mean, everybody says that. And I'm like, why aren't you on the radio? And I'm like, man, nobody ever wants to talk to me, you know. But I'm a 10 because I believe that there are people like me out there. Yeah, you're sitting, there's one sitting right in front of me, who pray, who want to do good, who push every day to be a better you today than you were yesterday. My goal is I want to be a better me than I was yesterday. I definitely am a better me than I was 25 years ago. But I want to be tomorrow. I want to be a better me than I was today. I always want to get better. So I believe I'm a 10, you know, and the people I surround myself with, my fiance, and who I love her to death. I talked about her a couple of times already. Most beautiful woman I've ever been with. I mean, the heart of gold, and just a sweetheart of a woman. Mom and dad love her. The family loves her. The kids love her. The grandkids love her. It's like, man, and this is just being honest. How did a piece of shit like me get so lucky? You know, but you know what? It's not luck. I don't even gamble because I don't believe in luck. I'm going to gamble when I'm going to win. And I know I'm going to win because I don't need luck. I got God. So I'm a 10 every day. I wake up to do my best and give the world my best every day, whether they accept it or not. We can always agree to disagree, but we can always sit back and have a beer at the end of that day. Today's world, if we disagree with each other, oh, you're my enemy. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Oh, you're this. You're an idiot. But that could be your own brother telling you that. You're like, wait a minute, dude. So you want to have a beer after this? Oh, no, I'm done with you. Wow, the brainwashing that goes on.
That's what I said. It's fascinating to me.
It's amazing how quick family will turn on you first. Me and my sister, she hates Trump. I love Trump. I do the whole dance, you know, and everybody gets mad at me. I got my dad doing it now. He was for Biden. He can't stand Trump. But they know that me and Trump had a history. And I'm not going to I am not going to take the guy's side. I haven't seen him do anything wrong. He done anything that any other billionaire out there would have done. Yes. How many of them other elites slept with the strippers, porn stars? How many? Come on. I mean, let's get their names out there too. I mean,
all of them.
Thank you. Oh no, just Trump and Stormy. Trump and Stormy. Okay, whatever. How many times have we gone to bars and said things, honestly about women? And I mean, so now we are being again. Those are life lessons, man. But to him, it's a life sentence. And I think that's wrong. So my sister is all about Biden. She hates Trump. But at the end of the day, she's my little sister. And we go back and forth, man. We get nasty and, shut your mouth. You're so stupid. And then I'm like, hey, give me a drink. And she opens up a beer for me. You see what I mean? Because we're family. And I wish everybody would see their friends out there. If they are your true friends, then you should treat them as family. Whether you agree or you disagree, we are all adults. We were born in the 70s in thick skin. These kids today are born with paper thin skin, and everything offends them. And oh my God, my PTSD gets thrown around too much, and so does mental health. That makes me sick because they have no clue on what either one of those two are. My sister's dealing with mental health issues. My dad had PTSD. I got a double whammy in the family. So for these punk kids out there, and if you're one of those Gen Zers and millennials that are out there listening, yeah, this is going towards you guys. Grow up. Take one on the chin and keep moving. Quit blaming people. Quit saying you're offended.
It's all done by design. Weaken the country. You pollute the minds of the children. It's all in the communist book. A couple things going back to, like, I believe in energy. Our bodies are throwing out real energy. This is the government of our energy, and we attract like energy. So when you say I was lucky about, I didn't deserve this, it's not. Here's what I say about deserve. You get in life exactly what you deserve, right? So you attracted your fiance, who you spoke very highly about. There was a saying that I love because my wife used to say, you always get what you want. And she'd say it's snidely. I go, I always get what I want because I always want exactly what I have. That's the key, right? You're grateful for whatever you have.
I don't want no more than what I have.
Yep. And
I'm okay.
And you're on a great journey because you live in the present.
Mm-hmm.
You make your present the best it can be. On the Trump thing, they use the word divisive. Yeah. He's so divisive. I'm like, every election we ever have, the country's divided about half and half, no matter who's running. Yeah. We are divided. The system is designed to divide us.
That's why we have two parties, right? Democrat and Republican. Come on, bipartisan parties. No other country has it but us.
Yeah, he didn't divide us. He just showed us how deep the division is.
Right, and where it starts, where it's going.
I just did a video about this, and I've asked many people who are Trump haters, I ask them this question. If the system, meaning the government, Department of Justice, the FBI, whatever, if the system had to cheat, meaning make up false information or break the law to either prevent him from running, to keep him from winning, or to put him in jail, if the system had to cheat, would you be in favor of them cheating? And they all say yes.
Yeah.
And you go, you want to know why we're divided? That's why we're divided, because this patriot doesn't approve of that.
No, don't bury somebody because of views. Bury them because of what they done. Oh, well, they're viewing this as this, or we got to bury him. No, but has he killed anybody? Has he embezzled billions and billions of dollars from companies? Has he stolen from the poor? Kind of hard to want to crucify somebody or kill somebody or just defame them because they don't see eye to eye your views. And that's the thing. You got the American, CAN at the end of that, can. You got the Puerto Rican. You got the Mexican. You got the African. You got the Republican. And then you got the Democrat. Rat at the end of that one. Think about that. Think about that for a second.
That's funny.
And that's how I look at life. I mean, I was never a Democrat. I mean, I was a kid. I wish I could have voted for Ronald Reagan. I used to love watching his speeches. Yeah, he might have had a lot of bad things that happened too with the Star Wars and Gorbachev and all that. But he had Russia right here. It was an ally. Now they're an enemy. Same thing with China. They were allies. You guys are forcibly and purposely making two of the world's biggest allies into two of the world's biggest enemies. They join forces. It's all she wrote.
While weakening us here. Oh, weakening our military,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, my son was in the military and I couldn't believe what they were paying him. No wonder they had to live on base.
Right.
$2,400 a month. Wow. Out of that $2,400, this is our military. For our military men and women, our service people. Out of that $2,400, they had to put so much toward the housing that they lived in with their wives and their kids. They had to pay their own bills, buy their own groceries. Oh, go to the PX, it's cheaper. It's $1 cheaper than the store. So I didn't understand $2,400. Wow. That's extra, right? No, Dad, that's what I make. How the hell are you affording this house on base? Oh, they pay for it. I said, oh, they pay for all of it? He goes, no, I got to get. So you're not making $2,400. And son, in a month, not every 2 weeks, a month, $2,400. Out of that $2,400, what do you walk away with at the end of the month? What do you have? $300. And you got my grandson and your wife. And I lived with them on base for 3 months out of the year because I would film in California. And it was just an excuse for me to be out there when it was cold out here, January, February, March, because I don't like the cold, and be with my grandson. And I lived with them for 3 months. I bought their groceries. I made sure that fridge was full because I wanted them to enjoy their money. The little couple $100 you had left, take your wife out. Take my grandson out. Go see California. I don't like California. It's a shithole, but whatever. Anyways, but he had to live there. And he's in San Clemente. I love San Clemente. San Diego, beautiful. LA is a shithole. It's a cesspool. But I tell him, I said, man, enjoy it. I'm here. I got this. If I wasn't filming, then I'd watch the baby, take her out, go to dinner. I don't care, But is that how you treat our servicemen and women? And you still have the audacity to say that, oh, we are the strongest. We're not. We are the weakest military out there right now. You keep thinking we're strong. China is gearing up, Jack, and so is Russia. You think that he's got his best in Ukraine? He's got his cronies in Ukraine. That's why they're losing, because they're not his top people. He's got them on the sideline. They're waiting. Don't think twice about it. Putin's not an idiot. But when Donald Trump was in office, we had China in check, we had Putin in place, and North Korea knew their role. Can't say that today.
Yeah, we're in bad shape, brother. I don't know what's going to happen. It seems like, the fire is burning already.
Oh, yeah.
It's being stoked.
Mm-hmm.
I just think this year will be, it'll crescendo into something. This election, they're never going to let Donald Trump win.
No, they'll stop it again.
They'll modify the voting booths like they probably did before. They'll kill him. Mm-hmm. They'll whatever.
I think what's going to happen is because they did this years ago. I don't know how the Simpsons keeps predicting everything.
Hundreds of predictions in that,
and they're all accurate. And
they had him coming down the escalator 10 years before he ran for president.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
The 2 towers burning,
mm-hmm.
all kinds of crazy stuff.
The whole plague, the COVID, the fake, the scamdemic. They had that in there, and I was like, And the assassination of Donald Trump. They had that in there.
Oh, they did?
Oh, yeah. That was 2017.
Well, that'll still be on the internet. They won't take that down.
So. Oh, no, they want that on there.
Yeah.
So they can say, well, see, the Simpsons were right. Yeah, because somehow they're predicting everything.
There's a thing in karma that I'm just starting to study karma, mm-hmm. that if the bad guys tell you what they're going to do in advance and you follow them, then bad karma follows you, not them.
Yeah.
They don't get dinged for it because they told you what was going to happen.
You just didn't listen. Yeah.
So
it's your fault. That's how they get you. Oh, we told you, but you didn't listen. Yep. So it's on you. So that's the karma that they use. And like I tell people, they go, well, what gives you the right to speak about anything? I said, well, because we all have a story. Some more than others, some more interesting than others. I said, but I talk about the military and the government because I can. Because my dad fought for this. My son went in. Yeah, I didn't go. But does that make me less American because I didn't join the military? There's a war in Iraq. There's a war in Iran. There's a war in Syria. There's a war in China. There's a war in the Philippines. There's a war in Russia and Ukraine. There's a war everywhere. How about the war in the streets at home? See, I'm not a warrior. I was a soldier in my own mind. But I took that soldier mentality and I said, I'm not a warrior by any sort. But to me, I look at myself every day and I tell myself, wow, the things that you battled and that you went through, the majority of the people haven't. Or if they have, they keep quiet about it. But I think I am my own warrior because I need to fight for you. I need to fight for my kids, my grandkids, my fiance, my parents. I need to be their muscle because my grandkids are weak. My parents are elderly. My fiance is a woman. Okay? My sons, they're tough sons of bitches like their dad. But I'm still dad. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be the guardian of everybody. So I might not have been to the military, but that does not make me a warrior. What made me a warrior was living through everything I lived through and the decisions I made in my life, not blaming anybody else, and coming out of it and being a better person. Because I can either lay down and get beat up and just lay there and die, or I can get up and I can fight back every day. Every day it's fighting a new demon. The drugs has been a demon since I stopped. And guess what? I can't remember the last time I thought about drugs.
Wow.
I can't. And at one point, that's all I thought about. Drugs and money and women. Drugs, money, and women. And being with this woman for almost 4 years now, we get married this year. I don't remember the last time I thought about, man, I sure do miss doing a line of Coke. I haven't, because my life has been so consumed with her for 4 years, all my grandkids, that I'm full. My life is fulfilled. I am filled. I am filled with love. I am filled with joy, and I am filled with family. So it's God, family, and then country, in that order. It will always be that order for me. God, family, country. Because who's to say I stay in this country? There might be another country out there that's a lot better than the United States right now. Might just give up citizenship, go there. So as long as I keep God, family, and whatever country first, that's what it's about, And if that makes me a loser, then that's fine. But to me, I'm a warrior, because I can tell my story, and I can shed my tears, and not try to be all macho and tough. I have a heart. I have a conscience now, which I didn't have before.
Awesome story, brother. Thank you for sharing all that. And one of my missions, which I think is your mission, is to bring more light into this dark world and to help people tap into that warrior that's in them. We need to
fight back. We need to fight back.
Yep. And to do that, we got to wake up. And I used to be of the mindset, ignorance is bliss. You talk to some people and, I don't want to screw up your narrative because you'll be unhappy knowing the truth, but now I'm not that way. Right. Now you must open your eyes. I'm going to duct tape you to a chair and open up your eyes, and you're going to watch and see
what's going on out there.
And it's going to screw you up a little bit, but it's the reality of things, and you must be part of the counterattack and not be part of the problem.
Right.
Because if you go along with them and everything they say, you're fueling them. Right?
Yeah, you're going to feel the fire, and the fire will overtake you. It will. It'll burn you every time. Yes, old saying, you play with fire, you get burned.
Hell yeah. Well, my friend, it's been awesome having you.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
We are going to start a friendship. We got a lot in common. Jose Santiago Jr., been a great guest today. We will be on again. We'll pick out some new material.
Oh, yeah.
You're a natural at this. We were going to write a script, guys. And he's like, I don't need a script. And I go, I don't either.
We'll
Two guys like to talk. Yeah. So thanks again, everybody. Thank you for joining us at the Warrior Podcast today with our special guest. And we'll see you at our next podcast. And remember, there's a warrior inside us all. Take care, everybody.
God bless.